All right, so today I wanted to comment on a Jocko video. Jocko is a stud. He's really well respected in the military community. He has a very successful podcast. He is just a strong individual in general. And he did this motivation video. It's actually one of his more popular videos, and it all revolves around the word good. The word good. So I actually wanted to take some time. I don't really know where Jocko's at spiritually. I don't know enough about him. But I wanted to ask the question, is what he's saying biblical? So there's one particular phrase that he uses here, and it really is the foundation for all the rest that he says throughout the video. And everything revolves around that word good. So I want to look at kind of this phrase that he uses and figure out, is this biblical? Would the Bible support what he's saying? So let's go from here.
Bad, you always just look at me and say good. And I said, well, yeah, when things are going bad, there's going to be some good that's going to come from it.
Okay, so remember that phrase. When things are going bad, there's going to be some good that comes from it. So remember that. That's kind of the foundation of everything he's going to say.
Didn't get the new high-speed gear we wanted? Good. Didn't get promoted? Good. More time to get better. Oh, mission got canceled? Good. We can focus on another one. Didn't get funded. Didn't get the job you wanted. Got injured. Sprained my ankle. Got tapped out? Good. Got beat? Good. You learned.
Okay, so there's a lot more with this video, but I want to really focus on that. Is that true? Is that true that if something bad happens, that there's always going to be something good that comes from it? And I would argue that in a Christian worldview, I believe that there's truth to what he's saying. But a lot of people come along and say, well, the universe will pay you back or something. That of course, they have this spiritual mindset. Yes, when bad things happen, don't worry. There's going to be some good that comes from it. But the question is that true? And I don't know what kind of perspective Jocko comes from, what kind of worldview he has. But I know that from the Christian perspective, that what he's saying has truth to it. For example, one of the great verses of the Bible, let me just read it for you. It's Romans 8:28. It says that, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. So the Apostle Paul is saying to the Roman Christians at the time that they need to realize that they are a part of something that is much greater than themselves, and that there are going to be things that they do not understand. There's going to be even bad things that happen within their lives, but there's a greater purpose in mind. And that they always have to remember that these things are for their good. Now, Paul connects this good to their sanctification. That is the process whereby they become holy. That the process whereby they become molded into the image of Jesus Christ. There are two goals in this life if you follow the scriptures. The first goal is that you place your faith in Jesus Christ to be saved. That you confess your sins, ask him to forgive you, and to be saved. That's the first goal of life according to the Bible. The second goal of life according to the Bible is that we would become more and more like Jesus. That as we go along, as we live in our lives, that we would look more and more like Jesus Christ. So those are the two goals. So Paul is saying here in Romans 8:28, he's saying that all things work together for the good of those who love him, that have been called according to his purpose. In the context of this, all has to do with our spiritual lives and looking more like Jesus. So yes, when bad things happen to you, they are for your good as a believer. They're a way of molding you and shaping you to become like Jesus. I heard an illustration one time of a guy that was making an ice angel, and someone came along and asked him the question. They looked at it and they said, whoa, how in the world do you do that? How do you make that thing look like an angel? And he said, well, it's pretty easy. I just kind of chip away everything that doesn't look like an angel. And that's kind of the thought process here, that God is working on us as believers. And there will be bad things that happen, but those bad things, they do serve to shape us in our lives and to mold us into his image. And it talks about here in Romans 8:28, if I look at it again, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. So there's a qualifier there. God works all things together for the good of those who love him. So in the Christian worldview, if you are a follower of Jesus Christ, a genuine follower of Jesus Christ, you are someone that loves him. And you've been called according to his purpose. This life, as a believer, this life is not about you. It's not about your desires, your wants. It is all about Jesus Christ and the purpose that he has. One of my pastors years ago explained it to me in this way. He said, when you make biscuits, right? Biscuits, the end result is good. But a lot of the stuff that goes into making biscuits, if you eat them by themselves, they don't taste good, right? They don't taste good. But in the end, once you put it all together, you got some biscuits, and biscuits taste very good, right? So it's like this. There are all kinds of things that will happen in our lives, and they're bad. They don't taste good. But the promise of God is that he will work all these things together for our good, to those who love God, the called according to his purpose. And so much of this comes down to our sanctification. That's the good there. The good is this is going to make you like Christ. So I think for Jocko, I don't know what his worldview is. So I couldn't comment on where that foundation of this happening for your good is coming from. I couldn't comment on that. But I know that this is a truth in the Christian walk, and that God calls for us to have an understanding that there's a greater purpose, there's a greater picture to life, and that we need to become very small in our eyes, and we need to be thinking of God as being much greater. In fact, we have to grow very small for us to see just how great he is. And he has a bigger picture at work. He has a purpose. And you and I will not always understand what that purpose is within our lives. But we will understand this, that no matter the bad that happens, God will work this thing and shape it for our good as we become more like Christ. So anyway, I like Jocko. I think it's a great motivational speech. And my hope is that you might think about the Christian worldview. Or you might even think to yourself, okay, if I truly believe that if something bad happens to me, that it'll always work together for my good, if you truly believe that, why is it true? Where have you come up with that knowledge? Because I know within the Christian worldview, that's the case. Well, thank you so much. God bless you in the way.